Okay, hello everyone. Before we start our discussion, we're gonna wait for other speakers to join this breakout room because there's still some speakers they're gonna join this breakout room session. So please wait a little longer. Thank you very much. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you so much for waiting. And thank you so much for joining this breakout room. And we will start the discussion after all the speakers and moderator enter this room. And I hope everyone is already in this breakout room. And if you have any trouble or maybe you entered the wrong breakout room, you can chat through me by in the chat box so the committee can help to move you to other breakout rooms. And before we start our discussion, I will give a brief introduction about the procedure for this session. The discussion in this breakout room will be conducted by Ms. Winnie Sanjaya, and there will be several speakers that will participate in this breakout room. In this breakout room, there will be 5 teams. The first team is Mr. Patarakorn Suksawat and Mr. Wildan Muna from Taksin University, Thailand. The second team is Miss Charlie Malensia and Miss Alia Andrina from Parahyangan Catholic University, Indonesia. Ms. Rim Sikdar from Daffodil International University, Bangladesh. Mr. Tuan Leung Huai Pao from PNIKA University, Vietnam. And the last team is Miss Dolly Joy Ann and Miss Maika Shane from Philippines. Now, I would like to read the rules first. The speakers are expected to change the name on the platform meeting with the following requirements: nation_full name. Example, Indonesia_Michael Pangestu. The second rule, speakers are required to wear appropriate clothes and be in a conducive place. Next rule, speakers are required to have a stable connection and provide a backup internet. The fourth rule, speakers are prohibited from speaking if the moderator has not invited them. The next rule, speakers must not interrupt other speakers while speaking. The sixth one, speakers are required to listen and respect the opinions of others during the discussion session. The 7th rule, the committee reserves the right to impose sanctions on speakers who violate the above rules. The 8th rule, speakers who violate the above regulation will be subject to sanction in the form of a warning and possibly be expelled from the discussion room. And the last rule, each team will get maximum 10 minutes for the presentation. That's all the rules for the speakers. Without further ado, we'll begin our discussion. And for Ms. Winnie Sanjaya, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Michael Pangestu. Hi everyone, good afternoon. Sawadi Tompai, Ciao Pui Ciao, Mangandang Hapon, Subah Aparah. Selamat siang, everyone. So today it seems like a very exciting moment where we will have presentations and also discussion, also questions and answer sessions for our today activity. So after the MC already introduced to all of our participants, I would like to welcome to our first participant and also the delegates from Thailand as well as Taksin University, Mr. Pranat Korn and Mr. Wildan. The time is yours. You will have the presentations for 10 minutes.
Okay. Did you see my presentation slide?
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Patrakon Sawat.
And my name is Wildan Mona.
We are from Taksin University, Thailand. The topic we are going to talk today is realizing SDG during pandemic. As I study in the Faculty of Education, I have found that most challenging SDG goal during the pandemic is quality of education. It is well known that at the end of 2019, the outbreak of COVID-19 has begun, causing many measures to be taken to deal with this event, such as social distancing, wearing a mask, checking temperature, and many more to prevent the spread of the infection. But at one point, the outbreak became more severe. Therefore, the government has stronger measures to prevent serious spreading problems, such as curfew, cessation of service at the mall, or business with a lot of service, and announcing the closure of educational institutions, and changing teaching to online teaching instead. All of the arrive in a very short time result in very little preparation. Some education institutions still lack of the availability of online teaching, making it impossible to open 100 online teaching. So they have to use other methods, such as providing content paper and assignment, and then having students return to work for submission. And many students still lack the readiness to study. For example, some families have only one phone for both work and online learning. They also lose money in purchase the right equipment to study. This have greatly reduced the quality of education. Because, as you know, the heart of quality of education is all learner must have access to the comprehensive and appropriate education. Another problem is the oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You were muted back then. It's okay. You can continue.
What's last time? What okay. Nice. And another problem is inability to study in practice as full as it should be. Neither myself nor ability to to directly to the school, and some of my friends who can use the lab. Having said that, the pandemic has created problems that greatly slow down the progress of quality of education. Now, let's move to the next participant.
Well, as my friend Patrakon have said that COVID-19 has caused a lot of problems in education. Well, there's more. The COVID-19 pandemic has also affected many areas of SDGs goals. For example, goal number 1, no poverty, and goal number 3, good health and well-being. The pandemic has made the goals more challenging to actualize within 2030, since some goals have come to a halt or even reversed. So let's look at the SDG number 1 and education. After the novel COVID-19 hit Thailand, the unemployment rate has been significantly increased, leading to more poverty and poor quality of life. Therefore, the children who live in poor families will have less chance of getting good education, since the unemployment rate has reduced their monthly income to afford education. Furthermore, online studying has made studying more expensive than ever, making some students who live in poor families not able to afford the minimum requirement for studying. Children's quality of life is also crucial when it comes to manifesting the SDG goal, as they are the future of our world. The kids today are the future adults, so their quality of life is very important in actualizing the SDG goals. Therefore, it is very challenging for us in our field of study, i.e. Future teachers, to help make children who are in need of help get the education they deserve when they are in rough reality like today's. Next. So next is the association of SDG number 3 and education. The COVID-19 pandemic takes many things away from children, and one of those things is their mental health. In March 2020, the number of people who sought help through the Department of Mental Health hotline increased 15-fold, with over 600 telephone consultations. This number alone can tell that many Thai people, including Thai students, have been suffering from mental health problems since the day the pandemic hit Thailand. This may be due to the increase of unemployment rate, and in the case of students, may be due to the stress from online learning. Since students cannot meet with friends and teachers during online learning, it will then affect the mental state of the students, as students are in the age of learning, and they have a lot of burning desire to explore the world, but online learning has taken all those fun activities away from them. This may cause many students to suffer from mental health problems, unable to cope with their own stress, and unable to socialize and adapt into the society. Therefore, as we are a Faculty of Education student, it is very challenging for us to keep our future students away from those problems and get them out of the problem and help them grow to become quality citizens of the world.
In the last part, we are going to talk about how we can fix this problem as Faculty of Education and ensure that every goal will be achieved in 2030. Well, in the order to achieve the 17th goal of SDG, we must foster the idea to make everyone see and realize the benefits of achieving them. One thing that we can do as students of Faculty of Education is to teach our students to be aware of this goal and make them pass on the idea to parents, family, friends, and acquaintances. by using the concept that if we can pass on something and it can be described more widely, indefinitely, it will make us able to achieve our goal sustainability. Okay, that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Panakorn and Mr. Wildan. So you guys are explaining about the SDGs in terms to the focus to the educations. That is very interesting. Now, we would like to welcome for the second turn, the participants from Indonesia, Miss Cherry Marlencia and Miss Alia Andrina from UNPAR. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Winnie. Please allow me to share screen first. Okay, have you seen my screen?
Yes.
Okay, well, I will start. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank you for MENEFESTO 2021, so me and my friend could share our thoughts about SDGs. Hopefully, after this session, we will have the same passion to these goals and realize why they should be reached. Let me introduce myself. My name is Cherry, and I'm here today with Alia from Parayangan Catholic University. Alia, would you say hello to all participants here?
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see you all.
All right, thank you, Alia. Well, everyone, in today's session, we would like to share our thoughts about one of SDGs, which is the quality education or the fourth goals. Our discussion today will be Indonesia's education in current situation and future prediction, education stakeholder and their intervention, the situation in the Indonesia education system, and what action that can we take. So without further ado, let's start our first discussion, which about how the education in Indonesia. In current situation, according to the Ministry of Education, Indonesia has 122 state universities and more than 3,000 private universities. And the number of the college students in Indonesia is up to 1.7 million in 2019, which has increasing almost 20% from the previous year. This is in line with the fact that according to WENR 2019, Indonesia population will be on working age adults by 2030. Because of this population, it will supply Indonesia with a beneficial demographic structure and a voluminous labor pool. Knowing this prediction in 2030, it is necessary to prepare the quality human research for the future generation that will take expert for the nation's successor. As it was said in SDGs, fourth goals is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities. And the highlight words are inclusive, equitable quality education, and promote lifelong learning opportunities, which is for education has to be for everyone and equally benefit in long-term opportunities.
Okay, next, let's talk about the stakeholders and actors in Indonesian education. So we have identified to you guys 5 main actors who plays a huge role in creating quality education. But for real though, this is not only for Indonesian exclusively. This may not only play a part in Indonesian, creating an Indonesian good education for Indonesia, but overall, globally, this could be applied. And each of the actors actually has their own interest and personal goal that they want to achieve, obviously. Like, for example, as the students, you obviously want to study and get much knowledge as possible so we could implement those knowledge in the future, whether it is to elevate our own life, others, or the nations. And then let's say teachers, they have the goal to teach students the knowledge that they deserve and get compensation for their service. And let's say the parents want the best for their children and they want their children to have stability in their income and in their work. Next, please. Okay, now let's go to the problem identification. So what is the main problem here in the education system in Indonesia? Obviously, there's a lot of things that we could tackle on, but today we're going to focus more on the privilege gap, which also correlates with the 10th SDG, which is reduce inequality. And the reason why we will talk about this privilege gap is because the issues or the situation that has been shared on our presentation here. The first issue, which is private versus public schools or university, undesirable major within the students, geographical privileges, and sexual harassment. harassment. This is a very real thing that happens in Indonesian education system that we're going to talk about today. And hopefully that you guys could take from this presentation is that we will fight together to reduce privilege gap from different aspects of education. Next.
Okay, well, first I will discuss about the undesirable measures. This is the first situation is undesirable measures that proven by 87% stuck in a major they don't want to get in. The measures that they choose might have been determined by the external factors, which not from their entire desire. It might be happening due to the lack of information about the measures in high school. To overcome this, the Ministry of Education has developed a program called Kampus Merdeka, which basically provides opportunity for students to hone skills according to their talents and interests by going directly into the world of work as preparation for future careers. In this Kampus Merdeka, students should spend their first 2 years in the majors that they have chosen, and in the last 2 years that have opportunity to explore other majors. This action departs from the realization that the future of work, employees are required to be adaptable to various aspects or situation. So in our opinion, many students didn't know where they are going, and sadly they are just follow their friends and are directed by the teachers or families. So before becoming a student, you must know what's your strength, weakness, potential, and what you want to achieve or your goals. And as a teachers or parents, they could help the students to direct without forcing personal and let the student choose what they want because it is their rights. And the second situation is how the competition between the private and the state university. People paradigm between private and state universities are really different, starting from the fees, facilities, quality, etc. In fact, the government only provides assistance to mostly the state university, even though the private sector also have improved the nation. So in our opinion, even though we are studying in two different places, there's no need to comparing or feel superior. Otherwise, we should collaborate to each other because we all have the same vision to increasing quality of education.
Okay, now let's talk about the geographical privileges. We know that Indonesia is a very big country that has 34 provinces, but sadly, we need to acknowledge that not all of the education system is equal. Some of area has a better or good education and some does not. Therefore, this problem really exists or really visible throughout the online classes throughout this pandemic because it creates the hardship in people who don't have access to the internet or technology. Based on the survey from UNICEF in early June 2021, of more than 4,000 respondents in 34 provinces said that there were two main problems in implementing online classes, which is 35% said that they have limited access to internet and 38% said that they have limited capability of teaching staff. Others said that they don't have sufficient devices, lack of parental guidance, or could not access online learning application. So what have been done by the government? So first, the government have the initiative to give mobile data to a lot of students who registered for it, which is a really good initiative and it's still going on right now. But we say that that is not enough because one of the problem is also the teaching staff, right? But the government also has an initiative where the Ministry of Education said that the student who do have access to adequate online learning can register themselves as teaching volunteers for students who don't have access to internet or other qualified education access in their area. So obviously this is a very, very good initiative provided by the Ministry of Education. So what is our opinion on this matter? We say that this is a very tricky one and very difficult in implementing because online classes is just a small issue in the bigger problem of geographical privileges. And after the online classes, more likely that those people in that area still don't have access to good education. Therefore, we think that the government should focus on creating policy for the next step after the pandemic happens, where more likely students still do not have access to good education. And as a student, we say we could take action in helping those who are not privileged by sharing information or even go out and teach ourselves and give a great initiative. Next. Next, let's talk about sexual harassment. So sexual harassment obviously is a very, very visible thing, and it is a problem in Indonesian education system. In terms of July 2021, the Ministry of Education said that there has been 2,500 cases of violence against women. And this is just an iceberg phenomenon where there's much more unreported number and it could be doubled. So you might ask and wonder right now, why is this related to the privilege gap? So let's say that most of the time men are given the benefit of the doubt, and more likely when sexual assault cases happened, it is the woman that is seen as inviting, or they're the one who more likely being blamed. Therefore, this patriarchal behavior is a really good example of privilege gap, especially amongst the university students and school students, that men and women are still not seen as equal. So what have been done by the government? So there's this new policies from the Ministry of Education in response to the sexual assault cases in many universities in Indonesia. It unrealized consent as it's something to be enforced, making it the most progressive policy we had yet in battling assault cases. But obviously, it's not politics without some disagreements, right? But this policy has a lot of controversy due to the fact that some religious leaders and organizations think that the ministry are enforcing prostitution. So what is our opinion here? First, we think that these are the most progressive policy we have yet. Hence, no other policy are enforcing consent and explaining the different type of consent as well as the policy. Even the elimination of sexual violence bill is not up yet. But we said we are still far from achieving the ideal safe learning environment due to the fact that the law is just a writing on a paper, right? But to execute it, the education institution need to take first preventative actions, such as teaching sex education in schools or teaching men not to rape, and firm in implementing the new policy here. So we also said that we can help out by speak up, execute, and preventive action. We need to speak out if there's anyone who you know are battling with this issue. Next. Okay, so lastly, how can we help out? So as a management student, we have something called the IDA model. So it is awareness, interests, desires, and actions. And we can help out by doing the simplest thing, which is keep the discussion going and keep giving the information. Because by keeping the discussion going, telling people about these issues and sharing the information, we will create awareness in people. And when people are aware about something, they're more likely to be interested in this topic. And when they're interested in the topic, they would have the desire to take actions. Because ladies and gentlemen, we will never know who are the people who have the capital, who have the mind, or who have the initiative to actually take action on this matter.
Well, to end up our presentation, Bernie Sanders has said, education should be a right, not a privilege. Everyone deserves an equal education because we are really deserve it. I hope after this presentation, all of us have a same perspective for SDGs number 4. Let's join us to be the agent of 2030. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Cherry and Ms. Alia, for the presentations. Surely it is very interesting. There are already 2 participants that discuss about the education in terms of the SDGs. Now, we would like to welcome on the 3rd participant, Ms. Rimi Sikta, the student representative from Davodil International University of Bangladesh. The time is yours.
Thank you so much, Venus and Gia. Let me share my screen first. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Sure, we can see your screen clearly.
Okay, thank you so much. So, hello everyone, it's Rimi Shikdar from Daffodil International University, Bangladesh. So I will talk about SDG and Youth for SDG. So we all know actually that SDG or Sustainable Development Goal, also known as Global Goal, there are 70 goals and 169 targets that all UN member states have agreed to work towards achieving by the year 2030. And we all know its aim to be relevant to all countries, poor, rich, and middle income, to promote prosperity while protecting the environment and tackling climate change. They have a strong focus on improving equality to meet the needs of women, children, and disadvantaged population in particular, so that no one left behind. So the importance of SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals are more important now than ever. Now it's the time to secure the well-being of people, economic societies, and our planets also. So as we talk about the young leaderships or youth for SDGs, so here are some young leaders all over the world for Sustainable Development Goals 2020. Maybe we all know some future leaders or young leaders we know who has been worked with SDG, and they are very inspiring for us, right? So though we are going to talk about the future, we want to we can look at them. So here from Bangladesh in 22, the young leaders was Zahin Razin. He was the get the leadership award for his Hydrokio Plus B Delimited, his entrepreneurship idea, which is harnessing the power of artificial intelligence, algorithms, and big data analysis to minimize information and data available for leading water innovators. By these contribute to SDG number 6, clean water and sanitation. Also, we can say about Liu Jichen was the first SDG young leader from China, and he is founder and CEO of Clean Plate, and it is the app that rewards people for reducing food waste. By this, he is contributing to SDG 2, like zero hunger, and also good health and well-being. So they are very inspired for us. We should follow them. So youth and SDG. Youth and young leaders are informed and engaged with the global vision for the future. Over the next 15 or 20 years, maybe we, the youth leaders, or we will not only directly experience the outcome of SDG, and but we will also be the key driver for our successful implementation of youth. So every individual and little contribution can make big difference. So what should we do to better share the future we want, right? So we can do little individually. What can we do? We should avoid wasting water, use energy efficient application, follow the 3RSS process, avoid using plastic, plant trees around us, and act now to stop global warming, empower women and girls around us, and promote equality. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, thank you, Rainy, for the presentation. So it seems like there is a new perspective now in terms of the clean water and sanitation, as well as the usage of the energy. So later we will see then during the discussion what can we see from the perspective there. All right, for the next one, I would like to welcome Mr. Toa Lung Huaibao, the student representative from Phenica University of Vietnam. The time is yours.
Thank you so much for having me, ma'am. Please give me a minute to put on the screen.
Sure.
Yep. I hope you can see the screen now.
Sure, we can see your screen
Yes.
now.
Yes, and I hope you can hear me well. Yes, okay.
Okay.
Hello everybody. My name is Doang Lung. I'm from Philippine University based in Hanoi, Vietnam. And my topic today here is about sustainable development goals, a blueprint for an urgent, very urgent matter. My content of the speech today here is kind of focusing on, first is the understanding of SDGs, just a brief understanding. Second, we'll take a look at some of the challenges and insights to the current situation that we're facing in Vietnam. And lastly, I'll talk a little bit about the plan for the future that we have.
Excuse me, Toan.
Yes?
Can you close the left screen? Because your screen is split it into two and then we cannot see clearly. Yeah, okay, that's good now.
Okay, give me a minute. Okay. Please give me a minute.
Sure.
Okay, so sorry for the pause. So as I was saying, my final part of the presentation is talking about the plan for the future, our commitment to SDGs and the 2030 agenda. Let's start. So on January the 1st, 2016, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development officially came into force. These goals are meant to tackle social, economic, and environmental issues ranging from extreme poverty, hunger, inequalities to climate action and sustainable economy. It is considered a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future. But why? Why do we have such a blueprint? Why do we have to care about it? It may sound like a very absurd question to ask, but I truly believe that in order to reach a consensus to call for actions, we first need to reach a consensus on why it matters first. And I would like to remind everybody here today why it matters, that we are in a very urgent crisis. Global emission of carbon dioxide have almost quadrupled since 1990, and that comes with rising seas, dangerous flooding, and changing rain patterns leading to violent typhoons and drought. And you can clearly see the effects right in our region, Southeast Asia, as it is one of the world's vulnerable regions to climate change. And believe me when I say no one understands this better than the Vietnamese people, because Vietnam is considered one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. It ranks the 5th in climate risk in the Global Climate Risk Index for 2018 and 8th in the Long-Term Climate Risk Index. Concepts such as record rain, record hot sunshine, and the peak of flood record have been more frequently mentioned in Vietnamese media in recent years. And just in last year, the southern region of the country, which is the Mekong Delta region, suffered a prolonged drought with 5 provinces declared a state emergency, 30,000 hectares of rice field damage, and 500,000 people had to live without no water for a few months. In the same year, the country got hit by 14 storms, along with several depressions, triggering historical flooding, landslides, causing massive damage and casualties, and a hefty price tag of $1.6 billion in damage. And in this year, 2021, thanks to COVID-19, 9 out of 10 vulnerable households suffered from employment impacts in July, and nearly 2/3 of households experienced an income drop of 30% or more from the pre-pandemic period. So as you can see, all of these impacts not only disproportionately affect the poorest and the most marginalized communities, but also damage local and national economies, contributing to food, water, and political instability. So yes, it's not just about birds and frogs, it's also about the livelihoods of millions of people and everything that we stand for as a nation, which is peace and stability, and the future of our generation and our region as well. That is why I believe why SDG exists. is to act upon the crisis we're facing before it's too late. If we don't do anything now, every effort towards stability and climate actions that we make will become exponentially more expensive and ineffective in the future. We know that we need to act now, and drying is no longer the subject matter of suggestion, but that of necessity. And time is not on our side. Nobody understands that better than the Vietnamese people and its government, that it is very urgent. That's why our country has integrated the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goals, making it in line with the long-term development strategy of Vietnam. In our endeavor to achieve this agenda, the government of Vietnam is committed to mobilizing all resources and participation of government ministries and agencies of all levels, organizations, communities, and the people. Sustainable development principles have been thoroughly mainstreamed into our development plans of Vietnam, and it's going to stay that way in the future year. And realizing the importance of SDGs here as well. Here in Technical University, we actively support and believe in a sustainable future by committing to the conservation and protection of the available resource with an aim of achieving the human development goals, thereby leading to the ultimate goal of sustainable development. And more importantly, we believe that we have the environment which promotes freedom of speech, ideas, and creativity, so that everyone in the campus to talk about the things that matter, to act upon the things that we consider important, and provide them with all the necessary resources so that they can make a positive and lasting impact to society. And that leads us to the final part of my presentation today. We're in a crisis, and SDGs and the 2030 Agenda is our best shot at ensuring the future of our communities, our region, our planet, with all the stability on all aspects of life. And to all the young people, to all of the young leaders out there who have been trying their best to make their community a better place, building a sustainable future for all, I'm very proud of you, and I'm very proud of what you have done. And I'm proud to be a part of this movement, the history that we were writing with our knowledge and skills. And I would like to be a part of your projects in your community in the future if there's a chance. And I would also love to see you as a part of any PU student projects towards sustainable development goals in the future under the flag of ATUNet and our networks in Asia and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Ton, for the presentation. A very comprehensive presentations, I could say, yeah, starting from the issue of the global carbon, and then it influenced to another places, just like how you explain. That is very interesting. Okay, we will move to the next participant. I would like to welcome Ms. Maika and Mr. Rolly from San Beda University, and as well as the delegates from Philippines. The time is yours.
Hi, good day to all. My name is Dolly Joy Ann Ortigera. This is my partner, Micah Shane Calivo, and we are the representatives of San Beda University, Manila from the Philippines. Our presentation is entitled SDG 8, the anchor to the Philippines' achievement of the SDGs by 2030. 8 years ago, before the Philippines and the rest of the world was hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, a bill entitled Pandemic and All Hazards Preparedness Act was filed within the country. The act aimed for public healthcare resiliency, which was very timely given the presence of a global health pandemic today. Unfortunately, it was not given priority by the Philippine government, and it was left the status of pending in the community. So it's funny to think that 8 years ago, the country could have been a bit more resilient during the pandemic if only such a bill was approved and implemented. Now, the country shall suffer from the consequences of a poor pandemic response by the Philippine government for generations to come.
But before we start to go deeper into the issues of achieving the SDG 8 in the Philippines, allow us to lay down the progress of the country in terms of all the 17 SDGs. So in this Pace of Progress Index from May 2021, we can see that all goals that should have been achieved in 2021 have not been met, except for SDG 14. And some goals also show a trend in regression since 2000, denoted by the red bar. And all other SDGs are showing trend progress, although still behind on our goal for the year. So if you try to evaluate the status of the SDGs only using this report, as well as the next slide, you would think that SDG 8 should not be our priority when there are other SDGs with major challenges, again denoted by the red one. However, if you take into account the recent attempts in response to the pandemic, you may also agree with us that the SDG 8 is the most pressing concern in the country among the other SDGs. So let us explain why using only two words, economic scarring. So according to this graph, the Philippine economy is the most vulnerable to COVID-19's long-term effects among the world based on the country's decline in GDP in 2020, and of course, health-related belief scoring and the other factors. This is not yet considering the poor government response to the pandemic. And according to this forecast, the Philippines is expected to have the highest percentage point decline in growth between 2019 and 2025. Again, we are not yet considering the poor government response to the pandemic. But what if we do consider the recent events? How bad could the Philippine economy be performing? Well, as of the second quarter of 2020, the Philippines has had the worst crisis impact and recovery in the real GDP. The Philippines economy fell 14% compared to its pre-COVID level in the second quarter of 2020, and the country was still 9% smaller by the end of the year, giving it the title as one of the worst economic performers globally. Now, what's worse? The country was crowned as the top borrower of COVID loans after we were approved for a $22.58 billion loan. And despite this huge loan, the country still ranks 53 among the nations in terms of pandemic response and resiliency. So these are why SDG 8 is the most pressing concern in the Philippines' achievement of SDGs in recent times. The current pandemic response of the Philippine government is dragging our economy, and despite whatever growth we manage to achieve in the next years, it would still be a challenge to make this sustainable amid the billion-dollar loan and the other implications that a poor pandemic response will bring to the economy. And without addressing this regression of the SDG 8, the Philippines will have a much greater challenge in achieving the rest of the SDGs.
But how would the other SDGs be affected by a regressing SDG 8 in the future? In the Philippines, if the SDG 8 regresses, the country's ability to address the SDGs will be severely damaged. To name a few, economic scarring would affect SDGs 1 and 2. The country's poverty incidence rate continues to increase to 23.7% in the first half of 2021, despite it already having a high poverty rate even before the pandemic. In the first semester of 2021, an estimated 23.14 million Filipinos were living below the poverty threshold with only an average income of $242. Additionally, about 10.4 million Filipinos do not have enough income to meet even the basic food needs. If SDG 8 regresses, the poverty-stricken communities in the country will find it even more difficult to recover in the coming years because of higher taxes, higher inflation rates, and possibly lower wages as a result of the poor pandemic response. Economic scarring would also affect SDG 3 because the pandemic would deplete our supply of some valuable healthcare resources, including labor. In fact, healthcare workers have been threatening mass resignation, saying that they are both overworked, underpaid, and even demoralized. Additionally, allocation for health increased from $4.2 million to $4.8 million in the 2021 People's Enacted Budget. However, despite this increase in budget, there are allegations that the fund was misused for pork barrel projects instead of healthcare supplies, equipment, and services. And for those who don't know, pork barrel is a budget primarily used during elections to win votes. The regression of SDG 8 would also affect SDGs 9 and 11, since the demand for a bigger allocation to the pandemic health response could minimize the budget for infrastructure and sustainability of communities and affect the pace of economic growth. The People's Enacted Budget for Public Works has increased from $11.6 billion in 2020 to $13.9 billion in 2021. However, there is a legal basis in questioning the misuse of funds for this department, according to the Commission on Audit. They are currently investigating this alleged misappropriation of $205 million worth of savings and contingent funds for this department, which had nothing to do with the government's COVID-19 pandemic response. They are speculating about pork barrel projects in connection with the 2022 elections. And speaking of corruption, economic scarring would also affect SDG 16, given the high corruption rate in the country. The Philippines ranked 115th out of 180 countries in the 2020 Corruption Perception Index with a score of 34 out of 100. The corruption rate in the Philippines is high enough for the limited budget, and now our billion-dollar COVID loans are a target by these corrupt officials.
And now these are only some of the reasons of how a regressing SDG 8 could affect the achievement of the other SDGs. But knowing these, as future leaders of the Philippines, what can we do to address the gaps in achieving SDG 8 during the pandemic so that it could not affect the other 16 SDGs in the future? As representatives of this FLB, we have a few points that we think could help. Firstly, an updated and complete tracker would make us efficient in planning our next moves. For example, because the following indicators were not tracked, there is no way of knowing if these indicators could be regressing at the moment. Otherwise, they could be improving and we would be wasting our time thinking about its improvement when there are more other pressing issues worth our time. Secondly, a safer back to work would be achieved by stricter face-to-face protocols. Doing so would prevent the spread of the virus among workers and combat unemployment during the pandemic. And of course, with careful prevention of transmitting the virus among the workplace, the work environment will be a lot more productive for all workers. And lastly, more secure alternatives to public transportation would help workers to get to their workplace safely. For example, each company could provide a point-to-point shuttle per area that is regularly sterilized and carefully tracked for contact tracing. This way, workers would be less exposed to individuals who may be COVID positive. And whatever contact they have in between, of course, the transportation to and from work would be promptly tracked. And there are more things that we could do to boost the development of SDG 8 in the Philippines during the pandemic to avoid regression, especially in combating the consequences of our billion-dollar COVID loans. And we could provide more jobs, increase productivity and efficiency among workers, promote policies to support job creation and growing enterprises, and many others.
Yes, but the bottom line is that we cannot properly develop the rest of the SDGs without first addressing the problems in SDG 8 in the Philippines. With SDG 8 as the anchor to achieving the 16 SDGs by 2030, SDG 8 can either weigh us down or lead us to prosperity. The question is, what can we do as a nation, as the youth, and as future leaders of this country to lift this anchor from the ground in 8 years? We would love to hear your thoughts as well. Again, my name is Dolly Joy Ann Ortigera, and this is my partner, Micah Shane Calibo from San Beda University, Manila of the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Micah and Ms. Dolly Joy for the presentations. So right now, I would like to give a small summary to all of your presentation here. There are a lot of problems we already know from the SDGs, but if we accumulate all of the data and all of the presentations, we can see that there are around four main problems that pop up in your country from the students in Thailand and Indonesia. We see that the problem is in the quality of the education, and then we also see there is also problems from Vietnam about the economic growth. And then we also see the perspective from Bangladesh. There is a problem in clean water and sanitation, as well as about the clean energy and affordable one, how to achieve that. And there is also another perspective from Philippines. That is about a problem regarding to decent work and economic growth, how unemployment people they are raising. But there is one thing which we can see, it's the same thing. It is regarding during the pandemic. How do we can overcome all of this, especially during the pandemic? Everything is regressing and there are a lot of problems here. So I can see that we can focus a bit to the SDGs number 4, which is about the quality education. Number 6, clean water and sanitation. Number 7, affordable and clean energy. And number 8, decent work and economic growth. Michael, are we getting into the discussion session right now, according to the timeline?
Yes, Ms. Winnie.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I would like to welcome all of you to discuss, so everyone can get involved in this discussion for all the participants. Let's see then. We already see the similarities. Each country has the problems, and then it is during the pandemic. Now, tell us about your perspective as a youngsters, and then probably the future leaders. How do we make people to realize all of these problems? We never know, maybe only us in this room, that we realize of the problems. What about the authorities? What about the government? What about the society? People, they probably don't have the decent education and so on. So I would like to know each of your perspective. What can you do as the young leaders to overcome all of the problems that have been mentioned in the presentations? I would like to hear first from the delegates of Thailand, Mr. Pranakorn and Mr. Wildan. Maybe you can share about your perspective, how to make people more aware of the problems, especially during this pandemic. The time is yours.
So for us, we have already mentioned in our presentation that in order for us to make everyone in our country or in the world to realize about the SDGs, to be aware of the SDGs, is to, as we are going to be a future teacher, we are going to foster the ideas of these SDGs. We need to make our future students be aware of these goals, and with that, our student will be able to apply these SDG into their daily life, and also they can also distribute these ideas to more and more people. Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right. Anything else maybe from Mr. Paratakorn? Do you want to say something?
Yes, I agree with
Sure.
because we are talking and discuss about this topic before we are going to presentation.
Okay, yeah, so the point from Wildan and Mr. Pratakorn is we need to start to make people realize, start from the students, just from the small society first, start from the small circle, after that we will improve. We start from the small circle first to make people aware of the SDGs problems. Okay. I would like to listen from the Indonesian delegates, Miss Cherry and Miss Alia. What do you guys think? How to make people aware more? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as we have presented before, that we use the IDA model. It has to be spread the awareness first. After that, it will impact the interest and desire. And the lastly is the action. And we have point out that the SDGs is the dominoes effect. So if the one of SDGs is reached, it will impact to the others' goals. So yeah, for as we present before, the IDA model, it has to be for the stakeholders should take the action from the student, teachers, government, enterprise, or work fields, and parents. Maybe Alia, you have another opinion?
Yes, thank you so much, Sherry. I do agree that yes, we need to consider the IDA model, but at the end of the day, it's the action that matters the most. At the end of the day, we have to be the one who takes action. And we here is not totally the youth, you know, like through actual SDGs, you shouldn't put all of that weight to all the youth, because by the end of when we are becoming a leader, it could be too late. So what I always say here, you guys don't have to realize all the SDGs. And there's this one quote I really like, is that it's not about one person doing everything, but it's about everybody doing the small things. Even the small thing matters. Create discussion, do peaceful protesting, you know, fight for your rights, fight for our rights to live after 2030. I think that's the most important thing, is take actions.
Okay, so speak up it is. Yeah, just like making the peaceful protests, make people to realize about the problems. Okay, that is a good idea. And starting from the small into the big stakeholders. Okay, the next one, I would like to listen from Miss Rimi Sikda, the delegates of Bangladesh.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? How to make people aware more to the problems?
Okay, I think we young people should, you know, come forward. Every single people should do something. We can say that this is government responsibilities. What can they do? What I do, it's mean to me it's a big impact. Such as if I talk about me, I just going to join a program, UNDP Movers program, which is organized SDGs workshop through online and offline, and talk with the community and peoples about the SDGs goals, how to, you know, deal with that and how we can achieve that. So I just joined there, and it's very nice to be here. And I think we should think what we can do, I can do. That's the point I want to say.
Okay, so starting from yourself, that's something that you can do, and then you also want to join the global programs regarding and concerning to the SDGs. Okay,
Yeah,
that is a
recently I have a little bit entrepreneurship idea as I'm doing. They call the name Nagar Moloy, which is work for rooftop gardening. I provide trees in online, so people can, you know, plant tree in rooftop, so we can deal with global warming and climate action. So this is the little contribution of mine, and from our university, I get you know, some fund for this, and for this project, I get just awarded. So I'm just working with it.
I see. That is interesting. Rooftop gardening it is.
Yes,
Rooftop
yes.
gardening. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. That is interesting. So starting from yourself, joining the global programs, and then loving the plants, and then making the earth to be more beautiful as the global society. That is a good movement. Okay. Thank you for your perspective. The next one, I would like to listen from Mr. Toalung Huaibao from the Finica University.
Yeah, you can call me Ethan. It's much more easier. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So I'm guessing that I'm the last, so I'm just repeating everyone's point here. I would like to say that I agree with your opinions. I think that's very true. I think that the things that we should focus on is conversation and actions. Conversation lead to action, but we need to have a conversation in the beginning. And a lot of change that we see today, a lot of change about environment, about how we can build a better world, it's come from the pressure from our young. It's us, the one that make that change happen in the first place. So if we can just keep doing what we're doing and to make sure that the conversation about SDG is relevant, then I believe that we can make a great change to society. One thing about public awareness is that bad actions spark another bad action. So let's say someone throw a garbage somewhere that they just want to, other may see it and yeah, oh wow, he did it, I can do it too. So that's the thing about public awareness. But there's another side of that, is that good actions also spark another good actions. So if you go out there and you do these little things that you think that is important to your community, others will start to pick up, and that will create a pressure to the government, to the institutions, that maybe we should care about the future more. So it can be as little as, you know, taking the bus to school, or maybe talk about the things that are relevant to your idea, and you know, it will start going from there. That's my take on it.
I see. So fixing the habit, I think. Yeah, just like what you mentioned, bad action sparks bad action. Yeah, if we can make it into good action, then it sparks the good action as well. And then we started from the small circle as well. Okay, good points there. And the next one, I would like to listen from Micah and Dolly, the delegates from Philippines. What do you guys think?
Do you want to go first, Micah?
Yeah, so for me, okay, so for us to understand it more, I will narrow it down to what I think I want to make a big impact on. And of course, something that I want to others to know about the issues or problems that we are currently facing today. So of course, as an economic student, and of course, some of you are already exposed to different mathematical problems, and I always tell myself that numbers can be very much deceiving. And right now, the Philippine GDP is increasing, and the country is starting to get back on its track. But the sad reality here is that we are lagging behind the SDGs. We are lagging behind social distancing and lockdown policies. They are all not well executed. And of course, aside from that, contract tracing lags behind improvement of the testing and treating. There is a lack of concrete planning, lack of leadership, too much focus on the people movement, and there is a less focus on the collapsing healthcare system. And of course, there is a less focus on the well-being of our healthcare workers. And aside from that, there was a timid response in terms of providing social protection to support the vulnerable, emergency cash aid, resources for frontline medical workers, and the massive increase in the country's debt. And there are also communication gaps in the Philippine policies. One relevant example for this is that the debunked bill that the late Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago about the Pandemic All Hazards Preparedness Act. And aside from that, right now, officials who had parties or celebrations while being accepted for the punishment for violating such protocols, while us normal citizens, some of us are being arrested for not even wearing a mask. So what I can do to make people be aware of those problems is that, of course, I want to be one of those economic students that who demands transparency and action in the government. One of those who demands accountability to the people, and not only to the government, of course, but also to other people, and be that kind of economic student that promotes justice and fairness that the country deserves as well. And of course, the Philippine healthcare system was never ready in the first place. We have reports such as lack of medical staff. There was no transportation available for other workers to get to work. We have previously, we have shortages of masks, alcohol, and funds. Healthcare workers in our hospitals, hospital capacities, intensive care units, they were all disregarded. Aside from that, no, we have a lot of budget for that, yet they were all disregarded. And what I am doing right now as a youth, for everyone to be aware of the problems, is that I give my support, a support that I can give to those who urgently needs it, of course, by participating to different organizations with the same advocacies as mine. We organize activities that would help us engage with other communities, for us to know how are they coping, how are they doing, and a little help for them to know that they are not alone. Of course, we can all make a big impact on our own little ways if we collectively do it. And I tell you, 8 years will be too long for us to make a big impact, especially that we are all here. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm glad to share my insights with you. Okay, so Dolly, you have something else?
Yes, I do have something to add. So
Yes.
actually the question a while ago was, how do we spread awareness to these social problems going on in our country? So I think I have a solid suggestion to address social problems or to spread awareness in any country, not just in the Philippines. So I think that what we should do to spread awareness of problems in the world is to show real problems and real impact. It's not enough to show statistics and numbers. People respond better to stories. I love that a lot of indie films in the Philippines are trying to raise awareness in the most pressing concerns in the country, such as poverty and climate change and sexual harassment and everything else that we talked about in this discussion. And what's great about this approach of making films and writing stories is that it's not something that only the world leaders can do. And absolutely anyone can tell a story, even children. Books, movies, even essays, academic work. I think these are solid things that we can do to make a significant change in social problems. Because first and foremost, if we try to tell a story, it means that we have personal connection with it, that we have felt it, and that we are influenced by it. And so it kind of, instead of showing numbers and statistics, it makes them feel like you are human and this is a human problem. It's not just a computer problem. It's just, on your screen, on your movie, I mean, in your TVs, in the news. It's actually something that is happening and it is real. So I feel like for us, aside from, joining organizations, which are also great, and the other suggestions that we have had by the other teams and the individuals, I believe that what we should do is to encourage people to tell their story, to speak up and talk about what they have gone through, how they solved it, how bad it was, and maybe others can rise up and try to help in addressing this problem so that it won't be repeated in the future. That's it. Thank you.
I see. That is very unique. Yeah, to put the message to make people be aware of the SDGs problems into the movie. Yeah, and then make people to make a storytelling. Yeah, how we can let people know, especially for those probably in the middle class or middle low one. Yeah, maybe the simple words can help them to understand. Yeah, by the movie, by the story, and so on. Wow, that is cool. Okay, now we go to more specific for the discussion. I would like to know, what is the role of the technology in your country, especially to tackle down on the problems in terms of the SDGs? Either it is number 4 about the education, number 6, 7, or 8. Yeah, let's share then. Let's share about each the country's perspective. What does the government or maybe the authority use the technology to solve the problems right now, especially during pandemic? Yeah, we cannot go out that much, social distancing. Maybe technology is also the keywords to help everyone. So I would like to welcome Remy. Yeah, Remy Sikter. Can you share us about your perspective? Hello, Remy? Check. Oh, okay. It seems like maybe there is a connections trouble. It's okay. Then let's hear from Toang then. Can you share us about your country's perspective in terms of the usage of technology, maybe to let people be aware of the SDGs problems?
I think the biggest impact that technology has in our country when it comes to SDGs is that the way that the government take care of its people during the pandemic. So in Vietnam, they have developed an app on your phone that you can basically, first you can check in on your health. You can call in ambulance or emergency services and you don't have to go outside. And thirdly is that you can basically, if you need help, anything like food, water, medicines, you can use that app to call in the support that you need. And one thing that's very good about this application is that it's very helpful for the ones that need it the most, which is the poor, the ones that doesn't have a very stable income and they have to stay home and they have to rely on paychecks to get through the day. So like those people get help a lot, and that also pushed the government and make efforts to digitalizing everything. And so that is the prime example of technology in fighting and building a better future in SDG.
Okay, so with the apps, and then people
Yes.
can just call, okay, to reach out the needs for them. Okay. The next one, I would like to listen from the Indonesian delegates, Alia and Sherry. Would you guys to share your perspective here?
Yes, thank you very much. We also agree with the Vietnam delegates, Tuan. Yes, in Indonesia, we also have that sort of apps, but when we're talking about technology advancement in the realization of SDGs, I think there's a lot of things that can be improved. I believe the government should implement renewable energy, especially now that, we still use a lot of fossil fuels. I think when you talk about technology, it's so broad, and I can talk about that all day and how it could improve our life. Like application is one of them who can improve people's life. Like for example, during the pandemic, we have a bunch of apps like for logistics apps, and then we also have the apps who would monitor the amount of people who have been vaccinated. But I think when talking about technology, I do really believe that renewable energy and the development of technology is something that should be prioritized from the government, because at the end of the day, the technology is actually the tool, right? The tool where we can improve, the tool where it can bring us so much more than just computer and all that. It's actually could be the answer to a lot of problems in SDGs. So I think for me personally, I do believe that the technology I wish that the government implement the most is renewable energy, whether it is solar panels in home, or the way that like transportation is but a lot more use renewable energy and all that. And I think when we talk about energy, we should use that to our advantage. For example, the technology that we have today, like technology that we use every day, for example, like phone or laptops, let's use that to our advantage. Like we talk about creating awareness, taking actions, and when you think about technologies or something that is very common, like communication devices, you oftentimes overlook that. You oftentimes don't see that they do have the potential, to create a good in the world, whether it is to spread a message or whether it is to create something like another application, or for you to communication with commute with others, like for example this event that we held right now. So to sum up, I think I gone on and on, but like the one that I really wish the government would implement is renewable energy. So what about you, Cherry?
Yeah, well, what I like from our government, actually the technology is the tool, right, from Alia said, and there is still a lot of people that difficult to access the technology. And what I really look up to, that the government is really help to all of people or students especially to access the technology, like providing the internet or the collaboration between the universities and the government. And yeah, the government really support that I really see is the governments really support the people in countries to access the technology. So maybe Alia and Son have mentioned that the tools, and what I speak up it's from what government is supporting to the people access the technology. Maybe that's for me.
Okay, so in the perspective from your country, Indonesia, there is an app that can help for the education and then for the transportation into a better usage of the energy, because people will just use the app to ask for the transportation without kind of use too many cars or too many motorcycles, something like those. That is interesting. Okay, I would like to hear from the delegates of Thailand, Mr. Wildan or maybe Mr. Fatakorn. Can you tell us what is the role of the technology at the moment? If you relate it to the SDGs right now.
I think the technology does our government bring to help about SDG goals is a little bit, but it's something that we are think is with basis is called Taishara. That is tell everyone who loading this government app to know about in this area have any infection area. Yes. How about you?
So, I have something to add from Patrakan. Is that before the outbreak of COVID-19, I myself personally, I didn't see any advancement of technology in Thailand, especially in dealing with these SDGs. But when the arrival of COVID-19 has come, I have seen many advancement of technology. Many applications have been created to encounter these problems. For example, as Patrakan has mentioned, is that there is an app called Rao Chana, which means we Thai people will win this pandemic. So the application is about helping Thai citizens financially. People who is in need will be able to ask for help financially. Like the government will provide some amount of money to aid the people who is in need of help from financial problem. And also there's an app called Moshana, which means doctor will win. This app is about fighting against COVID infection. So this app will monitor the infection areas of COVID-19. So we can check whether which areas has the most infected people. So that we can be aware and we can protect ourselves and prevent going there. So basically, I have seen a lot of like progression of technology, and I'm so impressed with that. Thank you.
Okay, nice. The next one, I would like to hear from the delegates of Philippines. Do you guys have any insight or perspective regarding to the technology?
Micah, do you want to go first?
You first this time. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So in the Philippines, the most used technology today by the common Filipinos are mobile phones, not personal computers or laptops, but mobile phones that they can take everywhere with them. And being able to take this device with them everywhere and anywhere implies that they have 24/7 access to news and trends and social movements, also wherever they go. Now, of course, we can look at this positively. Wow, Filipinos can be more informed or at least entertained. But in the middle of these entertainments and these information available through social media and technology, fake news and historical revisionism are also able to slip through the cracks that the social media unfiltered can give us, the common Filipinos. So it enabled through technology and social media to have fake news and historical revisionism all around the common Filipino. So it's easy to spread a fake idea and have people support it. And unfortunately, not all Filipinos are educated enough. And I mean that in the most respectful way, that they are not educated enough. And so they are easily intellectually manipulated and even emotionally. Like they would support a movement just because it has the most online presence, even when they don't exactly know what it means. And of course, there are benefits to this free and accessible technology and information through technology, but Filipinos so far are not media literate enough to understand the difference between truth, opinion, and what we can consider as noise or fake news, right? So in fact, ABS-CBN was the largest entertainment and media network here in the Philippines. And the common Filipino listened to ABS-CBN the most, almost for 24 hours. I remember my grandparents would just have the television open for 24 hours. Of course, we try to tell them to stop because electricity, but they do. So you can imagine the if this is from ABS-CBN, and it's the largest entertainment and media network in the Philippines, so maybe they would have more responsibility to make sure that the information that they share is proven, valid, and backed up by studies and real events. But ABS-CBN was how do you call that, Micah? Like it was the franchise was not renewed, and there are actually allegations that there is
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, like that it was not renewed because the current administration harbors like a negative feeling towards ABS-CBN, and ABS-CBN again is the largest news provider here in the Philippines. And so if ABS-CBN really was telling us the truth, and the current administration took us away from this accessibility to true and valid facts, just imagine what else the government can do to stray us away from the truth and to feed us only what they want us to know. So yes, that's it for me.
I see. Anything else maybe from Micah? Do you want
yes,
to?
but I will turn off my camera for a while because I'm lagging.
Oh, sure. It's okay.
Okay, so for me, with the help of the technology, particularly the social media, just like what Dolly said a while ago, we are able to know how the country, for me, or how the government is handling the pandemic. And one is on how our government handled the health cases and the economy in the pandemic. So, of course, with the help of our Philippine Vice President, she launched this Bayanihan e-Consulta, where with the help of volunteer doctors, health professionals, they follow a screening process done by volunteers. And there is this free service that aims to aid those who cannot afford access to medical services or other existing consultation in other platforms. And right now, we still have lockdowns in some of the regions. And if there is a lockdown, we know that consumption was at its lowest because of the quarantine restrictions. And with the help of this platform, they can reach out to our OVP, and then of course, we could know if we are in this kind of situation. We were put with the situation wherein it's either people would die out of hunger or people would die out of the virus. And with this community restrictions, there are unemployment that affected the purchasing power of the Filipinos. And yet those during the first few months, it has been difficult for the government to control the situation, especially adjusting to technology. And admittedly, the Philippines could have easily handled the situation if there were more disciplined citizens who abide by the law. But we should know that the government could have easily handled the situation more if they are all prepared even before the pandemic happened. And that is why I'm proud to say that with our OVP, she was able to manage this kind of platform where she entertains consultation with different regions in the country, where she entertains those who cannot afford to access medical services, others who need and others who need work, and others that need existing teleconsultation with the different regions. So for me, that's basically the improvement of the government when it comes to handling the pandemic, or particularly in SDG 3.
I see. Anything else, Micah?
That would be all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, that is interesting. So I think, yeah, we can kind of conclude that each of the countries, they have different treatment, how to solve the problems of SDGs during this pandemic and how to make use of the technology to solve the problems. Yeah, especially in terms of healthcare and then the access for the people, how they can fulfill their needs and so on. Oh, there is a last participant I haven't asked. It's Miss Rimi Sikda. Is she here right now? Rimi, hello. Okay, it seems like she's not in the room at the moment. Okay. Now, Michael, do we still have the time for the discussion?
Yes, we still have plenty of time.
Oh, okay, we still have plenty of time. Now, so before, back then, during the presentations, you guys already mentioned about the SDGs problems in the perspective of your major and your country as well. Yeah, we already conclude there are several of them: educations, and then economic growth and employment. And then we also have the problems regarding to the water supply and the sanitations and so on. Now, each of you, probably if you guys are curious regarding to the perspective of the other participants, now it's your turn. If you want to ask and discuss something or maybe ask something to your friends, you can raise your hand with the buttons. There is the reactions option in the Zoom. If you want to ask the other participants from the other country, sure, you can take your time. Or maybe you just want to ask their perspective. Oh, well, what about the education in Thailand, for example? Okay, Miss Dolly, to which team do you want to ask?
Hello, I want to ask representatives from Thailand. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. Patarakorn will that. I'm very sorry. Okay, so my question is, from your presentation and this discussion, your solution was to address SDG 3 in Thailand, is to teach awareness to people. That is something that even the youth can do, which is absolutely great. But do you have an idea of how the government can also do their part? What do you suppose they can do to have a more solid solution and more sustainable solution to teaching awareness in SDG 3 in your country?
That is very interesting question. Thank you for asking the interesting question. So what you asked me is that it's about the government, right? What can government do to give a solid solution to these, to spread the awareness of the SDG 17? So in my point of view is that it is the government themselves will not like have a lot of like impact. They cannot like deliver like big impact to the citizen to Thailand. In order to bring changes to spread the awareness, it is just like the delegate from Vietnam, Tuong. Sorry if I say his name wrong. Yeah, just like he said, like we need to like, it's like the domino effect. It is like we Thai citizen, we need to take action like in ourselves, like from ourselves. Like good action spark good action, right? Yeah. So in order for the solution to be delivered, it is also our part to do that. And also, and if we have like help from the government, it will be like the progression of the solution will be like speed up. But yeah, but right now, for us, like all we have to do is we have to start from ourselves. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the government should improve our education system. Like 7 years ago, we have a tablet in most of every school. Our last government is give the education tablet for students to learning, but now they cancel the tablet because of the last 7 years is lack of technology. So the tablet is can include to the our education system at this time. But in this situation, in the COVID situation, we need some technology that we can use to learning, like as I said in my presentation. Some of family, they don't have the right technology to learning or study. If we can go back in that tablet or anything, like that tablet is about 2,000 baht. Yeah, 2,000 baht at that time. It's very expensive, but now we can afford uh, the the better tablet that we can use to study. So I think if our government is more concerned about this situation, is be better.
Yeah, I think that's really great, especially when you mentioned student governments, because I feel like maybe we are missing some bit of information from the process of translating our words, since English is not our first language. But I think that what I'm getting from your answers is that you want to focus on the youth because they are the future leaders and they are who will lead us in the future. And so especially if the student governments right now from each of your schools in Thailand, if they could be better for society, maybe in the future when they also become the leaders, they could also perform better than your current government. Yes, thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Dolly. Yeah, that is an interesting discussions. Yeah, regarding to the access of the technology in Thailand. Yeah, regarding to the tablet program. So yeah, how to solve it later. Yeah, it's supposed to be the roles of the youngsters, I believe. How you guys later can make people aware more to their educations. Yeah, maybe with or without the tablets. Maybe there is another thing that can replace the gadgets, for example. Maybe there is also the roles of the social media. I think the social media, or maybe from the TV programs. Yeah, how the government maybe can provide the daily educations in the TV. Yeah, who knows? Back then in Indonesia, we also have this kind of program, and in the TV, the national TV, they kind of show the educations like program every day. Yeah, every day. And then they put the cartoon every weekend. Yeah, so the kids will like, okay, I will wait for the weekend. Yeah, on the weekday, yeah, I will study. Yeah, something like that. Maybe it can be the one of the solutions. Okay, the next one. Anyone would like to ask the other participants? Okay, there are two. Who want to start first? Ladies first, or maybe
Lady first.
Ladies first. Okay.
Okay, well, I want to ask for all the delegates here. Maybe you could just point out the answer so it has not be the long answer. Yeah, in this situation, I'm really curious what your universities have done so far that the most innovative things that never exist before the pandemic. Maybe we could make this topic to the education. So maybe all of your answer will be an input for our each universities or even education for our country. So what is the most innovative things that has been new for after the pandemic era? Thank you.
Okay, maybe we can start from the delegates from Philippines.
Okay, hello. I'm sure that there are more that San Beda University has done to to increase the quality of education online during the pandemic. But what I can think of right now is the library access online. So we have an online platform where we can search for any book that is available in San Beda University campuses. So it could be from different places. You know, they could just transfer it to the libraries in which we want to get the book from, and then we can also go through the campus, or we can have it delivered straight to our home. So that creates a very accessible material for better quality education. And not only that, they also provide us with free resources for different programs. So there's business, law, medicine, these educational books, articles, scholarly researches, studies. They are also available online. You can just order them through the library. And personally, I have borrowed 50 books during the pandemic. Yes, and just in 1 year. So, and actually I haven't returned some of them. But yeah, it's very accessible. It's great. I feel like that is very, very beneficial for us who can't go personally to the library, because I am in the province. I am 3 hours away from the campus, so I can't go there personally. But because of these online resources, we are able to get quality education that we could have gotten during face-to-face classes.
All right, maybe every delegates here can continue. So I will mention after the all delegates has speak.
Micah, probably, do you want to say something?
Hello, yes. I would just like to add to what Dolly said a while ago. Because aside from the online platform, the online library platform, one of the innovative ways that of course, the San Beda University have is that the virtual webinars, of course. Because we all know that it's hard to process papers, it's hard to process budget proposals, activity proposals, face-to-face, physically, because we have to print more papers, we have to follow necessary format when it comes to, and with that, process those papers, we can just send it from the email to the emails of the student council, and then we can just get few responses after a few days. Because prior to the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken, based on my experience, we get the responses of the administrators of the San Beda University weeks after I process the papers for the event. And with that, also, it is much easier to converse with your executive board. It is much easier to tell them what are the plans, what are the things to be discussed on. And with that, right now, we are doing this FLD. If it's not because of the Zoom meeting, if it's not because of this, of course, we would be going to Indonesia, which is, of course, we don't have enough budget for that. Maybe San Beda can provide it in the
We
future.
want that.
But, yes, and hopefully we can meet all of you in the future, face to face. And yes, that's one of the good things, one of the innovative ways that we were able to discover this pandemic. It's the virtual learning, set off the webinars, etc., and the processing of papers virtually.
Okay, thank you for the perspective, Micah. The other participant, probably, do you guys want to say something? Tuan, maybe? Do you have something?
Yeah, I do
share?
actually. I do actually.
Sure,
Yeah.
take your time.
So one of the things I like the most, well, I mean, I like everything about my university, but one of the things I found out recently, and during the pandemic that we actually have a very good back-end support system for mental health. And it's actually very important because, you know, learning in sort of online, you don't really see much often people. It creates a toll on your mental health a lot. And that plus from the fact that financial stress, and also you don't get to see your family that much often. It creates an enormous stress on students. And I realized that my university have the kind of system to support that, to help students to maybe talk about the problems that they're facing, and maybe to provide some sort of support that they may need. It could be food, it could be money, it could be anything. It could be someone to talk to. So I really like that. And yeah, that's what I want to share. Thank you.
I see. That is interesting. So there is a mental health support, yeah, in the university. It probably can be the solution for the presentations from Thailand delegates. When you guys mentioned that in the educations of Thailand, yeah, there are a lot of students, they get very frustrated because during the online sessions, yeah, maybe there will be an online mental health care consultations. Yeah, I think it could be a very good intake. Okay, the next one. Maybe Wildan, do you want to say something? Is there any very good and innovative program in your university?
So from our university, what I like the most is that the university provide us the reduction in tuition fees by 15%. So we have only to we have only to like to pay 50% less than the actual tuition fee. And another thing is that when we go to campus, we want to buy food from campus canteen. We can use the government application Rauchana, to support us financially. Like we can have the food for like 50% less cost than the actual cost, something like that.
Oh, I see. That is cool. Yeah. When you want to pay the food, and then yeah, you just open the app, and then the government will support you to pay for the 50%. I see. Yeah. That is interesting.
I have a question for everyone, if it's okay, Winnie.
Sure.
Since we are talking about universities, I would just like to ask, are your universities public or private?
Mine is private.
Mine's also private.
Private, okay.
Wildan? Private as well for Sanbeda.
What about your university?
Mine is like both private and also public.
Oh, okay.
It's like the corporation of, yeah.
Oh, I see.
I see. That's why the government supports it. Okay.
Yeah, it is. So they can use the app for sure. I see. Okay. Any other questions that you would like to ask to the other participants? And of course, regarding to the SDGs. Oh yeah, Toan, it is.
Yes, thank you. I have a question for our wonderful speakers in Indonesia. So back in the presentation, you guys mentioned about sexual harassment. And for once, I feel very intrigued about such a topic, because this kind of thing you don't talk about very often, because how kind of like, you know, the bad vibe that you got. And the fact that you guys mentioned it today, I think it means a lot, not just to me, but all the people who are struggling with this. And my question is that, what is your perspective on the situation of sexual harassment in your country? And are there any initiative that you're involved with? And I would love to hear about that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, am I allowed to speak, Winnie?
Sure. Take your time.
Okay, thank you so much for mentioning this. Personally, this is also something that is very endearing to my heart. This is something that I personally fight for and a lot of time advocate for, which is sexual harassment and women's rights. So maybe Cherry could add, but for me personally, I think the question was my perspective, right, about the cases in Indonesia, right? Is that correct? Okay, good. So me personally, I think that a lot of the sexual harassment cases is still not being handled well. Oftentimes, when when the victims speak up, or that takes a lot of courage, a lot of people discard it. A lot of people still have that conservative mindset of it's about the clothes that the women wear, or anything else like that. So it's very sad, the fact that that particular something that it should be a human's right to talk about, what is it like to be able to live, to be able to walk freely everywhere without having to struggle, without having to feel scared about the causes of all that. But I think at the end of the day, a good progress is a really good progress. The fact that the Ministry of Education already pursued this bill and actualize it. But what's sad is that the actual bill of the elimination of sexual harassment is actually being discarded. So imagine, being a woman in Indonesia, knowing that you have the right to to be able to live, to be able to not be scared about this type of things, and then knowing that the government don't see that as a as an important thing, because that bill has been forwarded, I guess the word, I'm sorry, my English is not that good, but forwarded to the House of Representatives many times. But at the end of the day, they think that this is too hard to discuss, which is a very heartache, horrible things as a woman to learn about that. So I think that there's much better ways that the government could handle this type of things, and also not only from the government but from the civilians of Indonesia, the awareness of that rape cases or sexual violence comes from the predator, not from the victim. I think that thing is still lacking in our system. So what I really like about the Ministry of Education is that the fact that they put consent. So if you read about that bill, they have a really, really good explanation about consent, which is something that I think a lot of Indonesians also don't understand. What is consent? What is a yes and what is a no? And I think by very bluntly, saying these are the words, these are the thing that you are not allowed to do, or this is not a permission. Even if the victim say yes, they could be pushed, or they could be harassed before, where they're still and they give up and say yes. Those all of the restrictions on all of the explanation about what consented is very clear in that bill. So I think that's a really good progress. But at the end of the day, we still need to fight for our rights. At the end of the day, we still need to educate a lot of more people that cases or victims are victims, and the problem is not the victims but the predator itself. So thank you so much for bringing this up.
Okay, so that is the perspective from Alia. Oh, Sherry, maybe do you want to say something?
Well, I think Alia has delivered everything, but maybe I just want to encourage women here, especially in Indonesia. Yeah, don't be afraid to speak up, because we are got this, and you are not alone. Maybe like that.
Okay. Mr. Patakorn, do you want to say something? Back then you raise your hands. No? Okay, all right. Dolly, do you want to say something?
Yes, so sexual harassment movement, sexual, oh my gosh, the words got lost in my head. So yeah, this movement is also very dear to my heart. And maybe I also want to point out this thing that exists in the Philippines. At least it's a movement started by a non-professional organization. I'm sorry if there's background music going on. My dad just started playing loud music. But right, so I'm part of a nonprofit organization, youth-led organization, that calls out universities with sexual allegations, and they track the progress if the administration has addressed the problem, if there's a progress in the problem, if if the problem is solved, we also try to see how the victim is doing. We interview them, we talk to the administrations themselves and some faculty members as well. So we do that for as many universities as we can that we can find a sexual allegation from. And so maybe that's something that some youth can also start in their country. Maybe someone could also start a movement that would track and call out universities to address sexual allegations and misconduct in their own university.
Okay, thank you, Dolly. Micah, do you want to say something? Oh, okay, Michael. Is the time already over?
I would just.
Sorry for
hello. I would just
okay.
like. Hello.
Okay, so I'm so sorry for interrupting, but I just want to say that we only have 9 minutes left before this breakout room session ends.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's
yeah,
all.
just
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a short one, maybe, Micah, before we go to the.
Yes.
Yes.
I would just like to ask if some of you have insights of it. I want to know how is your economy performing right now? Like, how is your government coping up with the pandemic? Like, what are the measurements that they do? Or you can also discuss about the budget of your government. Is it sufficient and efficiently allocated? I just want to compare it with how all of our countries is performing during this pandemic, and maybe we can help each other out and give each other advices to rise up together. So anyone can just raise their hands and unmute their microphones.
Okay, anyone would like to respond on Micah questions? The comparison, you need a comparison, right?
Yes. If not, I can just get some insights from other participants. Okay. Hello, Miss Alia. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think I have something to add. Maybe that's not very statistical because me personally, I don't really know about the statistics of Indonesian economic situations. But like the way that our government handle, I think the economy. Of course, fluctuated, because of the early on of pandemic. But what I really like, or something that I see the positive vibes of it, because of the pandemic, everybody is at home and people get more creative because of the inflations and all that. Therefore, a lot of people are starting their own business. I think small businesses in Indonesia has fluctuated. And I think what I really like is that the minister of creative economics, I don't know how to translate it, he really supported a lot of Indonesian small businesses, and we can see this really well throughout like his Instagram. He really promotes like a lot of Indonesian small businesses, a lot of SMEs in Indonesia, and then I see a lot of social media, as a lot of my friends started a lot of small businesses. So that type of initiative actually sparked during the pandemic. And a lot of people, because they think that, oh, we have a lot of more time here at home, we can start a business to help their own personal economy. But without realizing they're actually helping the nation's economy. I think that's a very good initiative, but I'm so sorry I cannot talk about data because I personally did not check that out. And hopefully that could help for that initiative. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Alia.
Thanks, Alia. The next one, Mituan, the last, before we go to the questions and answer session for the audience, okay?
Thank you. I will be very fast. But yes, just like Alia just said, economy is not something that I know a lot of, but I do notice that during the pandemic, our country faced a lot of challenges, but as well as many opportunities. And that opportunity is that many of the manufacturers slowly push their way into the Vietnamese economy. But that created a problem is that we don't have the logistic infrastructure good enough to support that kind of entry. And so what is happening right now is the government realized that, and they are pushing everything that they could to build that infrastructure that we need to help support those manufacturers. And the people also benefit from that. Just last month, we got the first subway we ever built. You look around, you see a lot of new roads, a lot of new infrastructure that is built to boost the economy up back on its feet. And that's my take on it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tuan.
Thank you, Mr. Tuan.
All right. Now we go to there are 10 minutes left, but of course, the more the merrier when people do the discussions. So we would like to welcome all the audience in this Zoom room. If you have a questions, you can type it in the chat, and then, or maybe you can also raise your hands if you want to say it out loud and ask the questions to specific participants. That is also okay. Anyone would like to ask questions and join the discussion here? You can also ask all the participants if you want, to make it more challenging for the questions. or yeah, just share your perspective. That is also okay. Make a statement. Don't be shy. Yeah, we are all open-minded people. So whatever the question it is regarding to the SDGs, yeah, feel free to ask. Anyone from the audience? Alia, do you want to say something?
Yes, I guess while we're waiting for the question, I have something to ask all of the delegates here. So, wait a second. So, what do you guys think for the next step? What we should do after this? After this discussion, we have a bunch from all around, Southeast Asia here. And what do you guys think the initiative that we should take? Especially being the one who are the panelists here, and I believe that all of you guys are very passionate about talking about SDGs and all that. What do you think we should do during initiative? And a lot of the audience can also follow through.
Yeah, that is interesting questions. So after these Zoom meetings, what will you do? Yeah, we are not just ending the solution, the discussions to here, right? Yeah, so what can you do? Oh, there is an audience who is asking question. I see. Audrey, somebody named Audrey raised hand. Audrey.
I'm sorry, miss, there is some mistake on my gadget.
Oh, there is something wrong with your gadget. Okay, it's all right. Thank you. Okay, to continue from Alia questions, what will you do after you finish this Zoom meeting? Yeah, we are not just letting this being cold, right? For all of the good solutions. Let me see. Let's start with Toing, maybe? Oh, okay. Sherry, do you want to start first?
Oh, please, Sherry. Oh, please.
Oh.
Thank you very much. Well, yeah, to answer the Alia's question, yeah, actually, in my opinion, the interactive learning, it will really help students to enjoy the process of learning. And this is really relate to the online situation. Yeah, and well, all the answer from the delegates here, it's really could be the recommendation for universities or education in our countries. Yeah, let's start it from ourselves. Let's compete to be the first to take actions, and let's be the agent of 2030. Yeah, as Ton has said, that good action sparks good actions too, right? Yeah, maybe it's from me.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. So start from yourself. Toing, maybe? Do you want to say something?
Well, I think what I want to say was probably put very well by Sherry. I think that I did learn a lot of things from different perspectives and different problems that we have as a whole region with different countries, with different backgrounds. And I think that there's a lot that we can do, and we can do that together. But the first thing first, we have to start from ourselves first. And that's what I'm going to do today. I mean, not today, but like after this, of course. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so sharing the ideas to people, and maybe these Zoom meetings, later we will put it online. You can just share the link so people can watch it and they will understand. What is the real problems at the moment we face? Okay, Dolly, take your time.
Yes, before I start, I'd just like to ask, can you guys hear the background music? Because I can scream at them to turn it down.
No, it's okay.
No,
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't hear
Okay,
anything.
so right, aside from sharing and listening from different perspectives, I think that we should take discussions such as these as benchmark to see what works and what doesn't, to evaluate our own country and to evaluate other countries as well, and then try to adapt what works for them and what doesn't work for them. Maybe try to offer our help, maybe suggest some movement that they can start within their country. And because it's, when you are just living your life, it's easy to be kind of closed off to what happens to other countries. And it's also hard to compare, to evaluate what we think we could do more. And I feel like taking inspiration from different countries and having these discussions with youth leaders from other perspectives, I think that that's very beneficial. And we should act on whatever it is that we learn from these discussions. So really try to apply it in your own country and also offer your help to other countries.
Okay, yeah, try to apply it, yeah, to your countries. Maybe start from the small things, yeah, or maybe if there is an idea which need the authority or the government to make the programs, then yeah, we can just give the solutions, yeah, to the country, for example. Good, very good perspective. The next one, who would like to say something? What will you do after this Zoom meeting? Wildan, do you want to say something, Wildan?
Yeah, I would like to say something. What about you guys? If like after this Zoom meeting, I don't want to to say goodbye to you guys and you know, I would like to keep the connection between us. And if you have start some initiative, like some program, you can share to us to us hey, you have done this and this is very good. Maybe I can apply what you have done, your experience, apply and to take the initiative by ourselves. That would be very beneficial to me and to you and to everyone.
Okay, nice, Wildan. So Wildan would like to have a collaborative activities, yeah, with anyone here. Yeah, if somebody want to make a webinar or something like those talking about SDGs, please contact Wildan for sure. Okay, Micah, do you want to say something?
Yes, and I would take this opportunity na rin to tell how I feel every time women speak up. I'm glad that Indonesia was able to, of course, share their thoughts about this. And of course, in our country, every time women speak up, it's either they dehumanize some of us, and we were all disregarded to the background and go to other suggestions for such movement. And we should, after this, we should consider that if ever we are to make a new movement, we should engage other people as well. Like if there are other participants, someone who is being stereotyped about the notions about faith, someone who is stereotyped about the attractiveness appearance, we should note that even they feel like that, we should realize that they are not an impediment to progress. Sex workers, no matter what their race is, what their background is, what their economic status is, we should include them in our organizations. And right now, after this event, if ever not there will be other engagements with you guys in the future, hopefully we can invite other schools as well, other universities from other countries. And from that, we can empower each other. We can empower that each other, that we can be progressive in ways that we can. And from that, we can speak our minds and advocate for others as well. we can recognize the unhealthy and toxic qualities that our friends have, to the point where we can stop watching some of our favorite movies when we know that they portray women as nothing more than a feast for male eyes and desires. And from that, we can also uh, stop listening to musics that we know are problematic. When after that, we are disgusted to know that there are some lyrics that contains sexism, racism, and ableism. And from that, no, we can consider that engaging all of the women. From that, we can consider that whatever your race is, you are a woman, and from that, women are multifaceted human beings capable of becoming many things. And from that, we can use that to empower other people as well. After this, I want to post this. I want to reflect about this more. I want to share my insights, what I information I gathered from all of you. And maybe if you have social media accounts, I want to reach all you out, so I can also share what my suggestions are for your country, what my suggestions. Maybe I can ask some of your advices, because according to your discussions a while ago, some of you are performing well in terms of these specific SDGs, and maybe we can help each other out. So I want to connect with you guys. Maybe we can create a group chat or something and engage with others and create a platform that we know can help others as well, and engage other communities, schools, universities as well from other countries.
Okay, thank you, Micah, for all of the explanations. Yeah, that is very heart touching. Michael, do we still have time, or do we have to get back to our main room? Oh, the time is so short. Yeah.
Yeah, sadly, I think the time is already over.
Okay.
And, yeah. Okay, so I think I'm gonna close it out. Thank you very much for every participants, for all the speakers, and especially Ms. Winnie Sanjaya. I truly enjoy every single second in here. And I believe this is such a great and rare opportunities for all of us to discuss this topic, especially SDGs across countries. And I hope we can still create a connection after this discussion. Thank you very much for Ms. Winnie Sanjaya for conducting this discussion. And once again, thank you to all the participants in this breakout room and our moderator. Now we will move to the main room for the closing ceremony. So thank you very much, guys. And we're gonna meet up again in the main room. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Miss Winnie.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.